Jeffrey Martin Thomas. My profession is photography. I work in the visual arts as a curator. The monument of Champlain, so you have the Indian figure at the base, which is about full size. He's about maybe 3 feet off the ground. And then about 10 feet above him is the kind of heroic, dashing figure of Samuel de Champlain. And he's kind of lording over the landscape in that. And it gives a very different impression about what was going on at that time. I saw the Champlain monument in the fall of 1992. My partner at the time told me about Champlain in Ottawa and about the Indian figure at the base of the monument. So we took a trip up to Ottawa and walked up the hill. And at the top, by the time you got to the top of the hill, you didn't see Champlain anymore. You just saw the Indian figure at the base of the monument. And my first inclination was to wait for all the tourists to leave and then walk up to him and introduce myself, because he was actually modeled after a real person. I called him the Indian Scout because at that time Champlain had Algonquin-Huron alliances with the Huron and the Algonquin. My ancestors were actually the ones that he was trying to attack. So that was the history of that monument. So this guy that was at the bottom was actually, like, traditionally or historically an enemy of my ancestors. So I thought so much of that is missing from the monument. And that's what I found that was, I guess the hardest part about that is that there was no markings or no kind of plaques or anything to tell you what's going on here. So you're only left to your own kind of imagination that here's this half-naked Indigenous man kneeling at the base. Looks like he's kneeling beneath Champlain and Parliament Hill. How many other chances or opportunities are there to actually see a representation of colonialism than the Champlain Monument, which is gone now? It'll never be back as it had been before. I was born in Buffalo, New York in 1956. I'm a member of the Six Nations of the Grand River, and my tribe is Onondaga. I'm a Turtle Clan, and I carry my grandfather's name, Hahatsta. It's a Cayuga name. I saw my first monument of an Indigenous person when I was in grade school. I had seen similar monuments around the city, but none of them for an Indigenous person. So I was really intrigued by that. So much so that I ended up riding my bike over it was in the Forest Lawn Cemetery. And I rode my bike over there, and by the time I got there, I was so afraid to go in by myself that I turned around and left, so I never saw it. I returned many years later when I was an adult and actually did see it. But that was my introduction to public monuments. That here was a man who was very influential. His name, he was from the Seneca Nation, and his name was Red Jacket. So that was my introduction to it, and I thought, how many people actually know about Red Jacket? And so I wanted to find out more. Well, you know, those types of images, that's the issue, is that they only tell one part of the story. And why would people tell the Indigenous side of the story? You know, there are no more Indians.